Hi, I'm Stu from Hive Mind Automation and welcome back to the Hive. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at integrating my new car into Home Assistant. We're going to need to install a custom component from HACS, and we'll set that custom component up to then start pulling some sensor data into Home Assistant. So while I roll the intro, why don't you take a moment to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get notified when I release new videos, which is normally each week. While you're at it, if you like what I do here and you want to support the channel, there's affiliate links in the description to some smart home gadgets that you can buy for your own smart home and support the channel at the same time without costing any extra, or you can support the channel directly through my Buy Me a Coffee link. Of course, affiliate links and my Buy Me a Coffee link can all be found on my website, hivemindautomation.com.au. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. So at the time of filming, just yesterday, I went and picked up my brand new Polestar 2. I've been looking to replace my old Subaru for a while, and we've already got one EV, a Nissan Leaf, and I wanted another EV. After a lot of research, I decided on the Polestar 2. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the car, at least not yet, because I want this to be a quick tips style video rather than a 30-minute video where we only spend 5 minutes talking about the actual smart home content. One of the main features though that attracted me to the Polestar is that it has some great connectivity features, including a mobile phone app and remote control via that app. Now, before anyone starts angrily typing in the comments, I do agree that while connecting all of these devices like cars and bicycles and all these other things to the internet makes our life incredibly convenient, there's the obvious downside of the privacy and security risks that come with that. Believe me, I've weighed up the pros and cons, and I think that this is the direction that the car industry is going, and I'm fine with the compromise. Now, for me, the obvious benefit of the connectivity is that I can then use that information that I can gather in Home Assistant to make various decisions. Now, looking at the setup that I'm going to be doing today, we have a couple of prerequisites. We're going to need to have HACS installed in our Home Assistant instance, and we're going to need to add a custom repository into our HACS. I'll take you through that part as we go through, but just know that there's some stuff involved here. We're also going to need to have our Polestar account, login, and password readily available to us. And it's worth noting that I did try this before I took delivery of the car, but it turns out that you also do need to have a car registered into your Polestar account for the integration to work in Home Assistant. So first up, let's take a quick look at the GitHub repository that we're going to be referencing here. And I will put a link to this GitHub repository in the video description. Now, I'll just zoom this page in a bit so that we can see a little bit better. And you can take a look at the code if you like, just to make sure that you're not leaking your data to a third-party site. But on the main page here, we've got in the README, it tells us how we can add it, and we need to add a custom repository in HACS. And I'm going to right-click this, and I'm going to copy that link. And it tells us how we can configure that and some of the sensor data that is available once we do configure that. I won't go too deep into there. It also shows you here that you can try logging into the Polestar website to make sure that your account works. I'm just going to head back over to Home Assistant here, and I'm going to open up HACS, and my HACS does look a little bit different here because I have turned on some experimental features. So don't worry too much if yours doesn't look like this. You may just need to click on an integrations tile when you get here. I'll click on the 3-dot stack or kebab menu in the top right-hand corner, and I'm going to click on Custom Repositories, and I'm going to paste the address that I just copied from GitHub into here, and in the drop-down, I'm going to select Integration, and then I'll click Add, and that's going to then add the custom repository. It took a moment there, and I clicked add again, and we got an error that it already exists because I'd already added it. So I can now close this window here. Now you'd normally click on download and install custom repositories in the bottom right hand corner there. But because I have the experimental features turned on, all I need to do here is just start typing in the search bar Polestar, and we've got the Polestar API integration there. I'll click on that, and it takes us and shows us the same README that we just saw on GitHub. I'll click on download here and then download again, and it's going to install this. So that should now have installed. If I back out of here, we see that it is downloaded and installed. Now, because we've just installed a custom component using HACS, we're going to need to restart Home Assistant. So I'm going to go to settings, and we've got that there's a restart required here. I've got a couple of updates that are pending here because I haven't started up this particular instance of Home Assistant in a little while. I'm going to leave all of that. I will run the Home Assistant operating system update and let that run and update Home Assistant for me. And when we come back, we'll set Home Assistant up with the Polestar API so that we can gather information about our Polestar. Okay, so it looks like Home Assistant is back up and running. So I'll scroll down to settings here, and I will go to devices and services, and I'm going to click on add integration here, and I'm going to search for Polestar, and we've got the Polestar API here. So I'll click on that, and we just need to enter our username and password for the Polestar API. So I'm just going to paste in my password here, and I'll type in my email address, and I'm going to click submit here. Okay, so that took about 20 seconds to query the API, and we have this Polestar and then a 4-digit number. And I think this here inside the brackets where it's just Polestar is the name that you've given the car. I couldn't think of one at the handover yesterday, so I've just left it as a very imaginative Polestar. Now we can put this into an area, and I'm going to create a new area called cars. Just to keep things organized, and I'll add that area, and then I will click finish so that it is in that area. So now if we scroll down through our integrations here, we see we've got the Polestar API and we've got one device. If I click there, we've got one device and we've got 32 entities. Drilling into that one device, and we've got controls and sensors. Now that one entity not shown in controls, it's just an image of the car. So if I drill into that and then click on the cog, and we can click enable and then okay, it's going to take about 30 seconds and it's going to update that. It's just going to be like a little image of the car from the app itself. So that car image has just reloaded. And if we want to, it's an image of the Polestar 2 there. And you can kind of see the date that was created. I don't think that date is ever really expected to change. So I'm not too sure what that really does for us, but I'm not too worried about it right now. As we scroll through though, we start to see some sensors. Now, some of these sensors are useful for different things, and some of them may not be particularly useful at all, especially as we see there'll be some that pretty much are never ever going to change. But we can see that we have the first 4 here are to do with the API status, and that could be useful for troubleshooting if we're having issues with gathering this information. One of the sensors here that could be particularly useful is the average speed, and also our average energy consumption here to kind of get an idea of how our driving style affects our energy consumption. The battery capacity, that shouldn't really ever change. It could potentially change, I guess, if the car is smart enough to figure out when the capacity is degrading, but I don't know that it's going to do that. I wouldn't expect it to. You see our battery charge level is currently 88%, and the charger connection status is connected, and the charging status is currently charging, and it's got about 15 minutes left, I think. So this charging timer appears to be how much time is left on the charge, not how much time it has been charging. Things like this battery charge level, the charger connection status, the charging time, and the charging status. Those things will be useful for potentially some automations, and I'll talk a little bit about what I'm thinking with those a bit later on. For whatever reason, the charging current and the charging power are showing as unknown, and I haven't seen that show anything other than unknown yet. That said, this charging that it's doing right now, the 15 minutes left, this is the first time I've actually plugged it into charge since picking it up yesterday. So I'm not too worried about the charging current and charging power right now. This may only come up when I do DC fast charging. We've got our estimated full charge range there. And that's just changed for some reason. I'm not too sure why that has changed, but it has. We've got our estimated charging time, which is currently not supported. I'm guessing that's to do with the API or the code that we've installed, possibly the HACS integration we installed. Estimated full charge complete. So it thinks that it's going to finish charging at 3:49 p.m. today, which is in about 15 minutes from now. So that makes sense based on that. The factory complete date is the date that the car was completed building in the factory. That data point's pretty much never going to change. So I don't know that it's particularly much use in this context. There's also an internal vehicle ID. Again, I don't expect that to ever really change. So I'm not too sure how useful that's going to be in a Home Assistant context. Last updated battery data, it shows us that that was 4 minutes ago, and if we drill in, we can actually see the date and time that we got the last battery data update, and the last updated odometer data was 3 hours ago. If we scroll further down, we have our model name is the Polestar 2. I don't expect that to ever change either. We have our odometer in here, and this could be particularly handy to track over time. Worth mentioning though that this is in meters, not kilometers. So there's 80.1 kilometers on this car. Our range, again, this could be useful in an automation context, and we'll talk a bit more about that later. Our registration date and our registration number, I wouldn't expect that these will be particularly useful in the context of what I'm trying to achieve with some home automation here. Scrolling further down, we've got our software released and our software version number here. So we can see the current version installed on the car and when that software was released. The torque rating of the electric motors. Again, I don't expect that to change. So I'm not sure why we would need to track that. Our trip meter, automatic and manual. This is also going to be potentially interesting to track over time. So the manual trip meter we can reset by ourselves, and the automatic trip meter, haven't quite figured out when that resets itself, but it may be a per day kind of reset there. So I'll track that and figure out when that automatic trip meter resets, because I'm going to be interested in seeing potentially being able to track like how many kilometers we're doing on a daily basis, and also this trip meter manual we can reset ourselves, and that will update. And then the last thing in here is our VIN. Again, I'm going to block that out for my own privacy reasons, but you can kind of see here that we're pulling a fair bit of data from the Polestar API into Home Assistant about our new connected car. So there you have it. We've successfully integrated my new Polestar 2 into Home Assistant. Now, obviously, there's some limitations here. I can't control any of the features of the car, like locking the doors or starting a charge from Home Assistant using this custom component. I can only read sensor data. And I have noticed that I can't read whether or not the doors are locked or not from the API either, which is a little bit odd. What I can do with this data, though, is potentially add some automations to Home Assistant to then set up notifications. For example, if the state of charge is below a certain threshold or the range is below a certain threshold, and there's an appointment in my calendar for the next day, it'd be good to either get a critical alert pushed to my phone or make an announcement on one of the smart speakers to remind me to charge the car. Or if the state of charge is below a threshold and the energy consumption price from amber goes into negative, again, I could send a push notification. And those are just some examples. I'm still exploring some different ways that I can then get control of the car, and there might be a way in with the Google Assistant SDK, but I'll keep researching And if I do find a way to make it work, I'll make sure to do a follow-up video about that. An upcoming video that I'm already working towards is installing and using the Home Assistant companion app on the infotainment screen in the Polestar 2, and we'll see whether that allows us to do anything special with it as well. Now, obviously, this integration is specific to a Polestar and the Polestar account. There are other integrations available for cars that have telematics systems installed, like Teslas, some Nissan Leafs if you've got the telematics package installed. Unfortunately, ours does not here in Australia, among many others. As always, let me know your thoughts on integrating car telematics into Home Assistant in the comments section down below. That's all we have for this video, and I do hope that it's helped you in your home automation journey. Be sure to drop a comment below with a home automation idea that you'd like to see me cover in a future video. And don't forget to follow Hive Mind Automation on Instagram and Facebook. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button down below to give it a like. And if you're not already subscribed, now's a great time to consider changing that. And if you hit the bell icon, you'll get notified when I release new videos, normally each week. Lastly, if you like what I'm doing here and you want to support the channel, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Contributions you make through Buy Me a Coffee do get put towards making more and hopefully better content for you to enjoy. Don't forget to check out my website, hivemindautomation.com.au. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Stu from Hive Mind Automation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.